I tell this story now because we are 20 years later, but to be very honest, we had no idea what we were doing. We were running it out of my house. They were driving my van, no insurance. They were swimming in my friend's swimming pool, no lifeguard. So we really had no idea what we were doing. But the kids had a great fun. And then the week ended. And we thought that's it.
Hello, fellow entrepreneurs. Welcome to another edition of the Startup Sandwich Podcast. I'm your host again, Rick Phillips. Today, we're talking to Kathy Laszlo, who is the co-founder and executive director of DANI. And DANI is?
Developing and Nurturing Independence.
And we are going to learn a lot about both Kathy, DANI, and all of her knowledge with dealing with nonprofits and charities. But first, I have a question for you. Why do we or the general public assume that nonprofits should and could survive on goodwill alone?
You tell me. You shouldn't believe that, at least not anymore. Maybe used to be many years ago that, you showed up to a nice donor and you put your story through and then you left with a check, hopefully, or not. But that doesn't work anymore like that. So I don't think anybody should just think that this is the way to raise funds or generate funds, as we should really change the language around that.
Maybe you could tell a little more about why it changed, or maybe just one or two things that you see really, let's say in the last few years, is really, really different.
I think donors, family foundations, or any funders are more involved now in the cause. They don't just want to give the money. They want to see what that money is doing. Mm-hmm. And they want to hear a story. And then hopefully they decide that they're going to give some funds. But even that on its own, I don't think can be a sustainable model to do. We actually stopped calling the word fundraising. We don't use anymore. We're using revenue generation because really it has to be a diversified way of bringing money into for the organization.
Okay. So what we're talking about is that it's great to have an idea, passion about a nonprofit or charity idea, social enterprise, one of those. And it's good to be able to tell the story. And in the old days, you could perhaps win some money, shall we say, by fundraising with the great story. And these days it's different. And so now you're looking at it completely like revenue generation, things like that. Tell us a little bit more about the structure of your organization so people understand a bit about what type of organization you've been focusing on. Sure.
We support adults who have a developmental disability or a mild mental health illness. They are typically age 21 and older when they finished high school. There is no top number for the very good reason that my own son is part of this organization. I started it actually for him. His name is DANI, and you spell it DANI in Hungarian. We are from Hungary. And if there would be a top age, then I always have to start a new organization each time he reaches this age. Mm-hmm. So we didn't put a top. It goes as long as we can support the individual. Mm-hmm. We have many, many different programs. It's very person-centered around the likes, dislikes, and abilities of the person. We do vocational training, some employment possibilities. There is a large drama and art program. There is recreation, of course, advocacy, anything and everything really what you can imagine and would enrich somebody's life. And about a year and a half ago, we opened our first home for 8 individuals to live independently with some support.
Nice. So let's go back 20 years or so ago. Was there, before you jumped into this idea of I'm going to build this thing, this business, was there anything on the market that was available that could help your son and other people?
First of all, I didn't know what I'm jumping into, by the way, just to know. My son and a few of his friends were about to finish high school, and they were the first generation of children who grew up integrated in schools, in camps, in just generally in the community. And it was really good for them. And it was very good for the community also. we wanted to make sure that their adult life continues the same way. So we were looking around, and I was very naive. I actually thought that it's going to be like, a bit of a legwork, but I will find the right thing. But I didn't. First of all, there was no program I really liked, but also the wait list for programs was terribly long, even if I would have liked it. So we had this idea what we want to do, keep them in the community, being involved, and have a meaningful life. And we thought that one of the existing organization is going to take this under, and we would help as parents. But it didn't happen. And then in one meeting, one of this organization told me that, if you feel so strongly about it, you should do it. And I was thinking, like, if she thinks I could do it, maybe I should try to do it. So we were 7 families, and we started with a 1-week camp for our 7 kids with some volunteers, no money. I tell this story now because we are 20 years later, but to be very honest, we had no idea what we were doing. We were running it out of my house. They were driving my van, no insurance. They were swimming in my friend's swimming pool, no lifeguard. So we really had no idea what we were doing, but the kids had a great fun. And then the week ended, and we thought that's it. And these volunteers who helped us, they were like young university students, and they were so loved this whole idea. They said, like, what do you mean that's it? Like, you have to keep going. And, maybe we can do a little basketball on one of the evenings. So really, really additional social program started just by the need and this encouragement of, we only had volunteers. We had no money. And then I realized that we need to legalize ourselves. We cannot go like this. And also we can't take any donation from anybody if we don't exist.
Right.
And then the whole story started. So we applied for a charitable status and became a charity, and slowly we built it up, and we learned along the way, and the rest is history. I never thought that this is going to be an organization. I thought it's going to be a thing for my son and his friends,
right?
And never imagined to the size we grew in 20 years.
Right. So innovation came from necessity and opportunity, and your story being from it's personal with your son and the other parents with their kids. And it was going to be just a summer camp, really. And then it ended up growing to this very large organization. So the general theme that we want to talk about today is that how does a nonprofit make sure it's sustainable, or a charity? How does it make sure it's sustainable? Because there are a lot of good people with good missions who are trying to do something really good for the community, and they don't always have an easy time of it. I mean, even as you said, it's tough going in the first little while, which it is. So let's talk a bit about what you did, either accidentally or on purpose, to build some safeguards to make sure that you had some sustainability and some growth.
I guess one good thing was going for us is I'm an accountant, right? So numbers are somewhat familiar and easier for me. I also worked before DANI. I worked for a non-for-profit. So I had some knowledge about just non-for-profit per se. So that was a good thing. Also, we engaged a few people. When we realized that we shouldn't do things just like, ad hoc as it happens, we started to more intentionally engage people who can help us on the accounting side, on legal side. And so we sort of strengthened ourselves. We started to build a board. In the first board was really a few friends of mine who I just, sort of tapped on the shoulder to say, hey, I have to register this charity. I need 3 people.
Right.
You want to be a board member? So I said, oh, sure. No idea what it means. So that was the first, very well-meaning board, but not so knowledgeable. So we started to build it more intentionally. But a lot of things happened out of need. The community's need for other programs, for additional pieces, we put it in. Until 2009, it was really a grassroots action group. Well-meaning people getting together and do some good things for our kids. In 2009 was the first time when we actually opened a day program. We rented a small space, and we intentionally hired people who were trained to run such a program. I was still only a volunteer. I wasn't like employed by the agency. And we started out with 7 people in that small Shepherd and Butters little house. And we were there for about until 2011. 2 things happened. Number one, people wanted to be part of it because they heard good things, word of mouth, right? Other parents wanted their kids in. The other piece is that even from early on, I really wanted to attach something, a business to this organization, to the charity, to generate some funds and help us, not fully fund, but at least help us to partially fund the budget. So I went around the world actually to look for different models. And in South Africa, I found something which was similar to what we wanted in Cape Town when there was a charity and a catering business, which employed some of the people with a disability and generated some funds. So I really liked that, and they were very welcoming in terms of giving, a lot of advice. And that's how the first social enterprise sort of came to us as a catering business from this small house, from this small kitchen, thinking that it's going to be like cute, little cinnamon buns the kids were making was cute. What happened is word got around and people wanted our food, but the kitchen was too small. We didn't have a professional chef yet. So we were just like, again, doing what we thought is good, but there was a business opportunity in this. But to move to the next level, we had to get a bigger place. So we were looking, and that's how we found in Thornhill our first large location at Clark and Bathurst. We did a renovation. We wrote a grant. First grant ever to Trillium.
Wait, your first application and you got it?
Yeah, first
Nice.
application. No, actually, I think first we got a New Horizon grant, like for seniors, because we had a lot of senior volunteers. But the first real grant, and we got it.
Nice.
Trillium. It's very funny, by the way. We got the Trillium grant to renovate this space and make accessible space in the kitchen. And we finished the grant. We finished the renovation, and I called Trillium and I asked them to come. They thought that something is wrong because they never ever got a phone call if everything is right to show them the amazing things we did with your money. So they were very surprised. But so that's how we made the kitchen large and accessible. So we were able to take on more people now because from 1,500 square feet, we moved to 8,400 square feet. I thought it's so huge. I wanted to sublet some of the space at that point. And from this tiny kitchen to a proper 400 square feet kitchen. So we were able to start bigger on the catering. We hired a professional chef and we started, the business grew because of that. And we wanted to do a cafe because Cape Town has a cafe. But they suggested that first the catering, then the cafe. It's better to do it this way. So we listened. But we have the space made for the cafe already throughout the renovation. So one day somebody came to pick up the catering order and he looked and he said, such a nice room. Why can't I have my wife's birthday party here? And I'm thinking, why can't he?
Why not?
I never thought that we're going to have a venue, like an event center. That was not part of the plan. Cape Town doesn't have that. It was not something we thought we would do, but I was thinking, it's very good because then he's going to pay for room rental, janitorial, like there's a lot of extra we can put into the fees. So now it's a much more profitable piece than just making the food and sending it out. So that's how the venue just happened. And eventually we also did the cafe and then we turned the whole outdoor space like a patio. So now we have a patio cafe in the summertime and the venue is going well. And of course the catering. And it doesn't stop there.
Well, let me stop you for a second just to follow up on that. So, as you're mentioning, it starts with okay, a summer camp, and now we're going to have a day program, and now we want to add some employment for these students, and then we were going to do catering, and then a cafe, and rent out the space. And as you say, it doesn't stop there. At some point, did you think to yourself, or did your board perhaps have a discussion about should we pick one stream and stay with it, or is this okay to diversify? How did you navigate that choice?
The question is always there. Should we stay status quo? It came to us actually we moved in 2013 to this space, and we were growing in the number of people and in the programs. And in 2018, we started to reach the limit. You remember, we moved in with 11, but we reached about 30. So suddenly in 5 years, which is an amazing thing. So it came to us should we stay status quo? It's beautiful. The business is growing. It's going to be almost sustain us. Very nice. Mm. But the board made the decision that we were not created for 30 people. If there is a need, we have to see how we can serve more people. So while that means, of course, additional revenue generation and other ways to bring in more money, we need to move forward. So there was a question, and it's an ongoing. We have strategic planning sessions now every 3 years, so we are really a serious organization here. This comes up always, how far are we going to grow? There must be at some point there's going to be a limit, but we haven't reached it yet. So there is this question, and should we go, grow one side of the business? And there was, by the way, is not always a win-win. At the beginning, we thought it's a great idea to have a greenhouse, and we built a greenhouse, put in a big greenhouse to grow microgreens. And we thought it's a great idea, it would employ some of our people. But it was absolutely a money pit. Never mind, we didn't make money. Actually, it was costing us money. And then COVID hit, we couldn't even use it. So we closed that arm of the social enterprise. We sold the greenhouse, and we are using now the space to enlarge the patio. So not everything is always just turning out to be right.
Right. But it's interesting because you're trying things on your own. You're listening to not just the board, but maybe to the people in your social groups or the people feedback who are your customers, and everyone's maybe has their ideas. And then you're saying, oh, maybe we'll try this, maybe we'll try that. But for the most part, it sounds like it's working. You have a very diversified business, right? Maybe very different from when you first started. And the reason why I bring that up is I think it's interesting for our audience to know, other entrepreneurs to know, because I think that question is something they often struggle with. Do I stick to one thing, the so-called niche market idea, or do I listen to the market, listen to the universe, and maybe adapt and see what they really want?
You need to adapt.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter. I always explain, the social enterprise is no different than any other business. The only difference is that the profit, hopefully there is profit, is going back to the organization's budget to support programs. Otherwise, it must be run as a business. There are many different ways to run a social enterprise. It used to be, and when I took YEDI, right, I was one of the early students, we did learn that there are different ways to run the social enterprise, right? There is one which is strictly out there to employ people who you support. There is one which is there to make money. There is the hybrid, when you hire some of your people and you make money. To be very honest, there is a fourth one, which came to me not so long ago. A fourth one is because there is a major marketing and name recognition piece, and it's very hard to put a dollar amount, how much money it would save the organization in advertising dollars. But each time we send out a food platter somewhere with a DANI logo on it, it not just advertises the food platter, it advertises DANI, the organization. Whenever next time any other event comes up or a campaign, the person would say, whoa, isn't that the same place we just got this food platter from? So it helps in the revenue generation, not just in terms of selling social enterprise items, but generate funds for the organization. So really, in our case at least, there is 4 reasons. We employ some of the people, but that's not the main reason. The biggest reason to have the social enterprises is for this name recognition and brand transference piece.
And I think also when you've got a for-profit and a non-profit to link together, you have different ways of raising money, you have different ways of employment. So you're trying to maximize both ways, and one hand is feeding the other.
Absolutely.
Right? You have people working and then selling the product to the open market. And
it works both ways, right?
Right.
Because when our participants, they do deliver some of our items in the neighborhood, when they show up at your door and they bring you your food plate, then suddenly you can click the 2 things together. Like, these are the people who are supported, but look at this amazing platter, which was like market value and it's beautifully done.
Yeah.
So it brings it together in your head.
Yeah, for sure. And I want to talk about, since you mentioned YEDI, I just want to briefly talk about what maybe brought you to YEDI to try the nonprofit course. Where were you at in your business journey when you decided to join YEDI?
I think we were at a step from mom and pop to bring it more professional. A friend of mine suggested, who were somehow knowing about YEDI. And even coming from the accounting background, and again, like, I'm from Hungary, the accounting background comes from the European accounting system. So it was, even in that aspect, it was really good. And just sitting together with peers and learning about this whole, not just the social enterprise, but generally speaking, how to bring your organization to a more professional level. And, for grant writing or presentations, like, it was really, really a fantastic tool, and being free, like, what can be better? But it was very challenging, to be very honest, and I took it very seriously. And it even now, like, I go back to my notes sometimes, and I definitely hope that some of my colleagues are going to do it too. Yeah. And it was a great experience for me.
Good. Happy to hear. So, simply speaking, the revenue model for DANI is a variety of things. Are you still applying for grants and funding when they suit the mission?
Yes. So the revenue come together from different pockets. There is fee for service. We don't have a subsidy system, but everybody is subsidized across board. It's about 40% of the budget, which is covered by different fees paid by the families. Then we do write a lot of project-based grants. We are not a government transfer payment agency. There is no ongoing government help. But we do write grants to all levels of government, as well as different foundations. And even individuals now, it is a grant you have to write. It's not like going to, Mr. Schwartz's office and leave with a check. Even that is a grant. So that's another piece. And the social enterprises, that's another piece. And corporate donations, which is not so easy. We're just getting there to get some recognition. We had a great experience with PepsiCo recently, and we did some product testing for them. And we did get a grant from PepsiCo, so we are very grateful for that. So we are, getting there slowly but surely. And we always have to think on new ways. Always. The board, and we do have now a team who work on revenue generation. Always have to think on new ways to bring in money. You cannot sit back and to say, it's all good, we're going to exist. No.
Right. I find that a lot of maybe more newer entrepreneurs, especially in the nonprofit space, they get a grant and they're quite excited, and they somehow believe it's going to last forever, or 5 to 10 years. But a lot of grants are 3 years and they're done.
Oh, you're lucky if you think. Most of the grants are 1 year. If multi-year grants are very rare. And the difficulty with that is that, let's say you hired somebody because it's part of your grant. What you gonna do 2 years down the road? Right. You're not going to fire the person. And also, you started a program. You're not gonna not do it. So you have to look for sustainability for that program. Never mind the organization, but even for that program you put in. And even funders, especially family foundations, they always want to know what you're gonna do in year 2 or year 3. Right. They don't just want to put money into something and then Okay, that's it. So it's very important to look years ahead, not just like, what's next month's payroll gonna come from.
So not just you as the head of the organization to look years ahead, but just to be prepared to answer those questions to anyone who's willing to somehow donate or sponsor or buy something from the open market.
Listen, the organization is no different than a person.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody should have some emergency savings, right? In a personal level too.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you cannot be that something happened and you are broke and you are evicted. So same for the organization. Ideally, you want to build up 6 months of operating budget. It's not easy.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not saying it's easy, but I think at least 3 months should be built up in case of something happens. One of your donors made a pledge and is not going to do it, right? That can happen also. You set out a campaign, maybe it didn't pay off. You have to have enough. I mean, I'm very proud of the fact that we never ever did not pay payroll on time or were late with any of our government obligations.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not a given in the charity world, but I'm really proud of that. And I certainly hope, God willing, that we will continue like that.
Very good. And I just want to make a quick note to our audience, for those that might be new to the space, that some people do think nonprofits and charities means you can't keep any money. And as you said, and I just want to remind them, you're absolutely legally allowed to have what they call rainy day savings. And it's written into the government websites for nonprofits that you're allowed to 6 months, 3 months, 6 months, even a year operating cost for rainy day. So for those of you running a nonprofit out there or thinking about it, you're absolutely allowed to quote unquote make money and keep some for your operating costs.
If you are lucky, and also if not just lucky but intentional, then you can start to build an endowment fund, which is also you are allowed, and only use the whatever that makes, right? And leave the capital in for the real rainy days, right? When the roof caves in. Because God forbid, there could be big problems, right? Very, very big problems. And if you have such a fund, then you're not going to crumble.
Right.
And the other very important, if I may,
yes,
is succession planning. I mean, God willing, till 120, I'm going to live in good health, but I don't believe that a 90-year-old should run such an organization. And you have to start early on to plan and, nurture the next generation. Everybody at DANI is at least 10 years younger than me or even more. So there is a future, and it is a must. Unfortunately, I do know an example in front of me when a very, very good organization closed for the fact that the founder and director got sick and the organization could not continue without that person. There's no way I would allow that to happen to this 20-year-old of work. So I'm very seriously on many levels, on the board level, on the top management level, and every level. Succession planning is a must. A must if you're serious about your charity or non-for-profit. Succession planning.
Right, because the mission is not about you in your life. It's bigger than you, and that's why you have to think about what's after you. Very good. As you and I spoke a little bit before we started filming, I mentioned that the startup sandwich idea was that a business is like a sandwich where the bread is the foundation and the meat or vegetable might be the product service offering. And a good sandwich has a good secret sauce. And we talked how we were going to get back to this. So what is your secret sauce? What is DANI's secret sauce, whether it be innovation or other? Tell us about secret sauce.
We use this word. It was very funny when you mentioned. We use this word all the time. People come through the door and they feel very comfortable and they say like, I don't know, it's just like so good here. Like, I don't know. So that's the secret sauce. So DANI operates as a family. The families themselves, the participants and their families, the staff. I mean, I'm blessed with staff who are with us forever. Like, a dozen years, more than a dozen years, from those early days when we were in that small house.
Right.
Very, very, very little turnover, thank God. And I think this is the secret sauce, because everything is based on the people who provide the services. and their dedication and their hard work and their heart, right? So it's not just like, okay, roll up your sleeve and, long hours, but their heart is in it. They care about it, and we care about them. We have all kinds of opportunities when we get together with the staff's family. We bring everybody together. That's the DANI family. I always tell people, once you are in for good. We have lots of volunteers. We have placement students from universities and colleges who do their practicum with us. And we really, really give them a good foundation. Many times, if there is an opening, we hire the good ones. By now, 75% of our full-time staff had been a placement student years ago.
Wow.
So we're really, really going out of our way to find good people, to train them, to nurture them, to value them. And in return, they value us. And we all keep in mind, why are we doing this? Like, we're not in it for sure, not for the money and not for for ourselves, but we are here to provide the best ever, we call it gold standard service to the people we serve.
Wow, that's amazing. I thought maybe the secret sauce was just I shouldn't say just, but the model of how the nonprofit and for-profit are able to work together in harmony. But what you said is much more impactful. And it's especially when you're talking about the students who get hired. And so many students may see that as just, oh, this is my 40 hours or this is just a brief thing. And yet 75% they're getting chances to go further. That's amazing. We've talked a lot about the innovation and the different things that you've done. Going forward, is there anything next year or two that you want to talk about that DANI is going to be doing or opening or trying?
I mean, we have a second location, by the way. So after that Clark location, during COVID, we opened another one in the North Toronto area. And we were the organization who didn't close during COVID. We actually grew our participants' numbers. And we are about to open another campus. Now this is down in the city, hopefully somewhere in Midtown. So we're looking for space, and that's what we're going to do. As for housing, I don't think I would like to build another house. It was very, very difficult. Not necessarily just the capital campaign, but the actual building the home. But we would like to help families to get together and try to create their own housing solutions, and we could be the service providers for those families. So that's in the strategic plan. That's something we want to do, and just grow the services we will provide. We have now an evening, sort of like a semester college-like certification program when we help people who are job ready but they don't have enough certifications to get that, and it's industry recognized. So we're doing that. We're definitely trying to help people to get employed. It's not easy. The market right now is not so favorable, but hopefully it will change. And we are here to do as much as we can, hopefully working with other corporations and, spread the good word about us. And we are here to stay, hopefully, for many years to come.
Well, as you said, you grew during COVID. That's hard to do. A lot of people went the opposite direction, especially anyone involved in the food services industry, which your cafes and stuff. So good for you. You obviously know what you're doing. Kathy Laszlo of DANI, thank you so much for joining us. I think you've given a lot of food for thought for our entrepreneurs out there, and I've enjoyed reconnecting with you. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Thanks.
Thank you for watching, and be sure to subscribe on YouTube or wherever you check out your podcasts. Until next time, keep turning small bites into big wins.